Before we begin our dialogue, I think we ought to clear up some points that arose yesterday towards the end of the meeting. We seem to be blocking ourselves. Some say it is not possible. What you are talking about can never be put in life, in daily life. I've listened to you for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and nothing has happened. I'm just the same as before. That's a block that prevents each one or the person who says these things, prevents him from investigating himself. He has blocked himself, saying it's not possible. That's obvious. And also, there are those who say, I understand partially. I want to understand the whole before I can do something. Again, that's a block. Again, that prevents your own investigation of yourselves. You are blocking yourself. And there are those who say, what you are saying is totally impractical. Why don't you stop talking and get away? Go away. So that people, and I've heard this very often, not only prevent their own investigation of themselves, but also because one person can't do it himself, he condemns the rest of the world. But if I can't do it, you can't do it. And so this goes on. We'll start the discussion. As I said, please, let me talk a little, and then we will have a dialogue. If we could, this morning and the next 4 mornings, realize, if I may point out, that we are not a whole 1,000 or 2,000 people in the tent, but we are talking to each other, single person. You understand? You and the speaker are talking together. When we two talk together, it includes all the others. Bound to. And I'd like to point out, if I may again, please don't hinder yourself by blocking yourself, by saying, I can't do this. It's impossible. You are a biological freak, and this is not applicable to ordinary people. Or you have to have special genes to understand all this. One finds innumerable excuses. One finds every form of avoidance of looking into one's own hindrances, observing them closely, understanding them, and try to put aside from them. If we could do that, then perhaps we could have more better communication with each other. Please. And also, I would like to point out I think we don't listen. We don't really try to find out what the other person is trying to say. And listening requires certain attention, care, affection. If I want to understand what you're saying, I must listen to you. Not block myself all the way, all the time. I must care for what you're saying. I must have respect. I must have affection, love. Otherwise, we can't communicate certain things which are really very, very serious and require a great deal of inquiry. So if I may suggest that we listen with affection, with care. All these dialogues and what happened yesterday indicated that we have very little love for each other. Right? We want to assert our own points of view. We want to exercise our own opinions and dominate our others by our judgments, by our conclusions, by our asserting that we have listened for you so long, why haven't we changed? All that indicates, it seems to me, and I may be wrong, that there is no real love. I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just stating this. Don't ride the high horse. And I think we should go into this question and deeply why we don't listen. All we say is, I've listened, finished. I've already listened to you for 20 years, so over. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. You don't say that to a child, do you? Whom you love. He wants to tell you something. He may be telling it to you 10 times, as I already told you. But next time he'd say something, you listen. You don't brush him aside. You're not impatient. You love that child. And I think in all these discussions and dialogues and talks, we are missing that essential perfume. I don't think we know what it is to listen with love. Which doesn't mean that we shouldn't be critical. Which doesn't mean that we should accept everything that is said. It doesn't also mean that we agree or disagree. You listen. Listen with care, with affection, with sense of communication with each other. And for that one must have love. And probably that is what's missing. We're all too terribly intellectual, or too romantic, or too sentimental. All that denies love. So perhaps, if we could this morning have a dialogue of whatever you want, whatever subject you want, bearing in mind that without this quality of affection, care, love and compassion, we merely play with words, remain superficial, antagonistic, assertive, dogmatic and so on. It remains merely verbal, it has no depth, no quality, no perfume. So bearing that in mind, what subject would you like to talk about this morning?
Continue with our discussion yesterday of action and of how to deal with mental and physical disabilities.
Could you go into again yesterday, as we began yesterday in question and answer, could we discuss action? Please.
Is it possible to have thinking together if only one person wants to have the thinking together?
Is it possible to think together if the other person refuses to think together?
I have difficulty in understanding what you mean by registration. In English we use the word to, meaning to become aware of something, as in registering an impression, registering discomfort. But you seem to use it as classified or as recording. Could you go into that?
Would you go into the whole question of what you mean by registration? To register something, to remember something, to acknowledge, to, like a tape on which you register, right? Could we go into that?
Why are we satisfied in the way we are living?
Why are we satisfied in the way we are living?
What is the relationship or the difference between the nature of thought and the mechanics of thinking? One thought, in my view, appears to follow the other, even for no special reason, and the movement of thought can be violent, even if the content of the thought is neutral or positive.
I have not quite understood it, sir. What, with somebody...
Well, I'm interested in the mechanics of thinking and in the difference or relationship between that and the thought itself. Because
you would like to examine the whole structure of thought.
not the structure of thought itself, but the mechanics of thinking, doing.
That's we are using the word perhaps differently. We'll use the word. The mechanics of thinking.
Because I noticed that it is possible to have a neutral or positive thought, but the mechanic of this thought, of this thinking, isn't functioning very well. Do you understand my thought?
I'm not quite sure I understand it, sir.
Saying that there's a difference. Inside, the thought could be positive, but in the way it expresses itself, it's negative.
Yeah. It may be so that it's a fighting like animals in the jungle with each other, even if the content of the thought is positive.
Te lo dico in italiano. Credo che il Signore voglia sapere se è vero che il pensiero è sempre meccanico o che non esista un'altra qualità di pensiero.
Is thinking always mechanical, or is there a different kind of thinking which is non-mechanical?
So, no, it's not just the same. In my thinking, often it happens that it doesn't flow very well. It's quite, I think, a violence in the thought, in the mechanic, but not in the content of the thought. It doesn't flow.
Positive thought can be violent too.
Positive thought is violence too. All right, sir. I think we'll answer that. Just sit down, sir. We'll go into it. What?
Why is love missing? Why
Okay.
we are missing love?
Why is
Why
love
is
missing?
love missing?
Why we are lost?
Why don't we love by thinking?
Why don't we love? No, sir. When you put a question like that, Or you're saying, why don't I love? Not why don't we love? Why isn't there love in my heart or in my being? Would that be right, sir? Right. Any other question?
You said that thought is limited as a tool, and yet when we look around, thought has conquered the whole of humanity. I would like you to elaborate on that, please.
You say thought is limited, but every action is based on thought. All the activities, social, economic, religious, personal, is based on thought.
And it has conquered the whole of humanity.
And it is the common factor of whole humanity. So, it has conquered the whole world. All right, sir.
I'm still interested in how I'm blocking myself.
Yes, sir. The gentleman says he's still interested in that question, where he's had an accident. It has affected his whole nervous system, and therefore his brain and his activity of life.
So is it possible to know something without having to show something?
What's up?
Is it possible, sir, to know something without having to show something?
Is it possible to know something without having to show something?
Is it possible to learn something,
No.
know something, without
Having to show. Without having to demonstrate it.
Is it possible to know something without having so having So of these questions, which shall we take? Action. Why isn't there love in my heart? What is the meaning of registration? The significance of registration? And is thought everlastingly mechanical? And is there something thought still non-mechanical? Wanted to know about action. So which of these questions, if we take them all together, which is the central question in all these?
Would answer the others, I think.
Could we go into this question, why is it that we human beings have no sense of love? So perhaps if we could go into that very deeply, again together, please, not I talk and you listen, but together. Then perhaps in the investigation of that, we'll be able to find out what is thinking, what place has thinking, whether it is mechanical or non-mechanical, whether and why the mind is always registering incidents, accidents, hurts, all the experiences of man stored up, and what is action that will be so complete it won't leave a mark of misery, confusion. Could we, by taking this one question, which is, what is love? Why don't we love? Could we, would be all right?
Yes.
No, don't please, I don't mind. Do you want to discuss that? Yes?
Yes.
I wonder how we approach this question. What is your approach to it? You understand my question? How do you come to find out? What's the meaning of love? Why you, as a human being, have not this perfume, this quality that perhaps may answer all the other questions in life. Now, what is your approach to it? How do you come to investigate that problem? Or it may not be possible to investigate that, but one can find out what may hinder it. You understand? What may prevent this extraordinary thing that man seems to be longing for and doesn't seem to get it, have it. Could we do that? So what is your approach to it? You understand my question? Because how you approach a problem is really important. Not the problem itself so much, but how you come to it, how you look at it, what is your intention, and all that. So please find out, if I may request, what is your approach, how you receive that question, whether your mind is romantic, sentimental, whether it is born of the desire. So you have to go into this very carefully if you want to go very deeply into this question. Because one may, in going into this, perhaps will be able to answer the whole nature of thinking. Right? So are we clear? How will you approach it? Each one of us. Or have you certain or you have certain conclusions already about it, certain opinions and your experiences. Will they block you? Will they prevent you from going into it very, very, very deeply? Right? So please, we are talking together, not to each one together. You understand? The speaker is talking to you personally. You. So what is your approach? Are you aware of your approach and how you approach it? Are you aware of your prejudice, your images about it, your conclusions about it, or what people have said about it? Can you put all that aside and try to find out? Yes, sir.
What is love?
What is love? That's what we are going to find out, sir. That's what we are doing. You know, sir, first the word. Let's be clear that we both have the same meaning about that word. Not that you may have a word meaning, different meaning from the speaker, or the speaker different from you. You understand? So we must be clear about the word itself. Right? Generally, in a good dictionary, the origin of it is desire. In Sanskrit, it is lubhyati. I won't go into it. It is, he desires. You follow? Love is associated with a desire. Please, I'm explaining the dictionary meaning of that word. It's not my concept or your, what's the common usage of that word. So, if we are clear that we are both recognize that the word is not the thing, do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? The word is not the thing. The word microphone is not the actual microphone, right? So we must be clear that always through our discussions, if I may point out, that the word is not the actual fact, right? So, we are inquiring into what is love.
We say that a child, a baby, loves his mother because he needs her milk and her affect. So, in this case, we say love is a fact of necessity.
Love is necessity.
Mother loves his baby and
Baby loves his mother, and that's necessity.
baby loves his mother.
And that's necessity.
Huh?
That's necessity for the baby to eat.
In that case,
Mother loves the baby loves the mother, and that's a necessity. Right? Is that so? You make a statement, you don't investigate it. Is that so? The animals love their babies. The most lowest form of life, manifestation of life, loves its young. And this is the movement from the animal to the man. And is that love? Well, I'm not saying it is not or it is. Or is it the instinct from the animal carried on through the human? And please follow it step by step. And attachment, the animal brings up the baby, its cubs, for up to a certain age and then forgets about them. Right? They're gone from the nest. With the human, there is tremendous care for till they are 3, 4, 5, nursing them, looking after them, cleaning them, cuddling them, holding them. That is, if you love that baby, which most people don't. It becomes a plaything. Or they have not the occasion, not the time. And after they send them off to school, to a boarding house, in a boarding school, and so on, gradually push them away. Right? And we're asking, I'm not saying it is or it's not, is that love? I know the mothers will say, how can you say such a thing? And we are questioning, we are inquiring, we're not saying yes or no. Because we are thinking, observing together to find out for ourselves what is this nature, the beauty, the quality, the extraordinary thing called love. If a mother and the parents love the baby, look after them, you follow? Then there would be no wars. Right? Right? There would be right kind of education. There would be right kind of society. So we are asking, when a mother, when the parents love their baby, is it just for a short period? Or right through life? Which means that they must have right education, bring them up with right behavior, without violence, without conflict, not train them to kill each other, organized war which is respectable, accepted. You understand? Would a parent who really loved his children do this? Go on, sir, you are parents, think it out. Right? What's up?
There's a moment where separation comes in.
The moment there is separation, the mother, the father separate themselves from their children, right? And the children go off. They are attached to the children. Is attachment love? You people, don't please go into it.
The parents get something from their children, and the children, they get something from their parents. So it's not...
What's up? Slowly.
The parents get something from their children.
Yes, sir.
So the children
Yes, sir,
get
I know all
something
that.
from the parents. So
I know.
it's not
The
love.
baby needs great deal of affection, care. If the parents don't give affection, care, love to the child withers. It's well-known fact. But generally the parents have their own problems, their own anxieties, fears, sorrows and business, worries, all that. And they give the child little of what they can when they have time. You understand all this? This is happening in the world. And so, is all that love? Don't say no, madam, but will you do something about it? Test it.
I think we should approach it a little bit negatively, like what is not love.
We are doing that, so we have just done it.
And if you look at the Krishnamurti, that's one of the ways of approaching it. It's a time, space, and the whole human, animal and human evolution.
Yes, sir. We'll come to it, sir. Slowly, slowly.
I think the parent even defends itself against the child.
Of course, sir, that always happens. You follow? The parents are against the child, and the child becomes, what's happening in the world. For God's sake, look at it. So, from that arises the question, is attachment love?
Many parents would think that it is.
What, sir?
Many people.
I know many people think that without jealousy there is no love. If you don't struggle, fight, if you don't struggle, if there is no conflict, if there is no jealousy, there is sense of each one asserting, people imagine that there is no love, or that there is love. This state is love. Right? So I'm asking from that, is attachment love? Or we are thinking over together, you and I. So, are you attached to your children?
Communion, is there a difference there? In other words, is there a care and an affection that makes you attracted to somebody else on a communion level as opposed to an attachment that you are dominating and your ideas have to be met by the other person? Is there a difference there? Can you be attached and understand that attachment?
When you dominate your children, or your wife, or your husband, or your girl or boy, when you possess them, hold them, that they are mine. Is that love? So when we ask that question, is that love? When you say no, it's not, you mean it's not in you. You understand? You are free of it, not just verbally saying yes or no. So that's why I asked at the beginning, if I may point out, unless we do this actively, aware that it is so in us, and being aware, look at it, go into it, search out why human beings hold on to this attachment. Were you attached? This husband, wife, furniture, book, belief, doesn't matter, attachment. And will that, if you are attached to one thing and another is attached to another, there is division. You understand? And is this division love? Please go into it. Alesi, madam, Alesi.
Parents are against their children. They said parents are against children.
I said they even defend themselves against their own children.
Right, so would you like to explain that? Because a lot of them are very Christian, they still don't understand that.
You know, madam, it is, we read newspapers, magazines, and social workers and all those, they are saying, after a great deal of attention, after a great deal of study, that unless parents really love their children, really love them, have time with them, spend their energy with them, the children either generally die, the babies, or mentally psychologically they have warped. And this lady was pointing out that some parents are opposed to their children. There are. They beat them, they force them, they do all kinds of things to them. That's all she was pointing out.
Sir, from what you are saying, I think we might get the idea that we should love. I think most of us have the idea very strongly that we should love. And most of us are very afraid that we don't love. Perhaps that is the barrier.
Yes, sir. The speaker is not saying that you should love. That would be silly because it has no meaning. And because we have feeling that we should love, we feel guilty. And being guilty, we force ourselves. Right? So, please, I hear you telling me love is not attachment. I hear you. And because I really am in earnest, serious, I want to find out. I really want to find out. So I give attention to what you're saying. And when you say, is attachment love? So I say, am I attached to my daughter? To my wife? I investigate in myself. You understand? I say, am I? And if I am not attached, will I become irresponsible? You understand? I have so far said, as long as I am attached to this person, I am responsible. I have to look after, I have to care, I have to earn money and, together, because I am attached to her. She's mine, I must protect her. And you are telling me, asking me, is that love? And I begin to inquire. And I say, if I am detached, will I neglect my responsibility? Do you understand? Will I be indifferent? Will I get bored and chase another person? You follow? So I am looking at it both. Whether attachment is love, in attachment there is fear. I know, I feel it. In attachment I must possess. I can't let her go or him. Because in attachment I find security. And you come and tell me or ask me, because I'm listening to you. I care for what you say. You have gone into it, you have searched out. You may be wrong, you may be right, but I want to find out. So I examine and I say, what happens if I'm not attached? I get frightened. Aren't you? I get frightened. And that very fear makes me more attached. So, I have to face the fear and say, if I can go into it and see what is implied in it, then I can say, well, all right. I see the danger of attachment, but what then? You follow? I'm not attached. Do I live in a vacuum? Well, all people around me are attached. Am I antisocial? You understand? Go into it with me as I'm doing it. So, My inquiry in listening to you is I want to find out what love is. To me that's very important to find out, because that may solve all my problems if I know how to love. Right? It may. Everything has failed. I've tried gurus, I've tried everything, but nothing has come, nothing has resolved, nothing has created something new in my life. So I'm listening to you very earnestly, carefully, with affection. So I say, I understand that love is not attachment. Understand in the sense, I've seen it. Not verbally, in action. I said, all right, my girl, I'm not attached to you. Oh boy, I'm watching it. You understand? I see the danger. And therefore, I'm holding it. You understand? Keeping watchful eye. Are you doing all this?
A good way to approach the problem is to examine what is not love.
I am doing that, sir, please. You are finding out what is not love. Attachment is not love. I've just discovered that. It's a tremendous discovery for me. Because I have so far accepted attachment as love. And you come and say, find out, look at it. I look and I find, yes, you're perfectly right. Because in attachment there's fear. And fear cannot go with love. So I've discovered this. I haven't been told by you, it's part of my blood now. Right? Are you doing this with me? Or are you just verbally playing around?
Sir, I find you in a very sad state today. You are weeping. You are going over a very serious problem with these people. Have you ever really considered that there is a very simple statement that tells you all about love? And that is found in the Bible. And the simple statement is that God is love.
Please.
And there is no love to be found in man himself.
Madam, we
But
can't.
God loves man. And man can look outward to God, not inward, and find love. Look outward, man.
Madam, if you
very
can, Madam.
love.
If you make your question very short, then it will be possible to answer. But if you make a long speech, it will be impossible to understand, even verbally. So we are, through negation of what is not love, finding it out. You understand? Negation. Attachment is not. But with attachment I have felt responsible. But also if I am not attached, will I be irresponsible? You understand? So I have to find out in action, not just verbally. I say, I see, I am attached, I am not. I see the dangers of attachment, I fear, and I understand the nature of fear, and I say, all right. Now, am I responsible, being free from attachment? Is then, I'm asking, is responsibility necessary to love? You understand? Through negation of denying attachment, and I have found responsibility. And is responsibility part of this strange thing called love? You understand? Being responsible, not only to my wife, to my children, having the feeling of responsibility. You understand what I'm talking about?
Is responsibility same as obligation?
What's that?
Is responsibility same as obligation?
Responsibility is not obligation. Obligation is gone. If I'm obliged to you, I can't love you. I'm obliged to you because you give me money, you give me sex, you give me comfort, you give me, then where is this thing? It's a merchandise. Right? So,
I think there is another danger, and it is one begin to cultivating indifference, to become chaos. If you see the attachment, you can begin to cultivate indifference, and that is another trap.
Oh yes, sir. That's why I'm examining all the traps. So I've realized love implies responsibility. Go a little further.
Which is to be able to respond.
What?
Which is to be able to respond.
Responsibility means, as you say, the word responsible comes from to respond. Now, in that responsibility, is the response sensuous, sensually? You understand? Is that responsibility contain desire? You're following all this? Please, I'm not talking to myself. We are doing it together, you and I. You and I may be all of you. So I'm asking, in that responsibility, is that responsibility limited to my girl, wife, husband, or the feeling of responsibility? You understand?
There is center from which this responsibility comes into being.
It is not. I examined it, sir. I'm attached. In that attachment, I have felt responsible. I go out, earn a livelihood, earn money, come back, and I feel responsible for the woman or the man. And in that responsibility, there is attachment, fear. And you point out to me, fear and love can't go together. You see, you're so clear. And that's quite right. So I'm saying, is responsibility just to those few, or responsibility to the responsible for all human beings? You understand? Is love, follow this, is love this total feeling of responsibility?
You're attached, you're not able to respond.
What's that?
I see that if you are attached to someone,
Sir, unless you go through this in yourself, work it out, test it.
I test it every day, and I think I test it too much sometimes. And I think that attachment as long as I experience attachment, I am not able to be responsible to the rest of the human beings in the world.
Yes, sir. So I'm gone much further in my investigation myself. I hope you are doing the same thing, which is, do I feel responsible not only for the few with whom I'm associated, or is there the feeling of total responsibility for the earth, for the trees, for the mountains, for the water, for other human beings? You follow? Total feeling. And is that love? Don't say yes or no unless you do it. And also, I find in my investigation that I like to possess. I like to belong to somebody. Don't you know all this? Huh? Oh, for God. So, belonging, which is to be identified with something. You understand? Identify with the nation, with a group, with a person, with an idea. So, as I have lost every form of identification, I feel I must be identified. Don't you know this? And in that identification, I must possess. I can't identify myself with the wind.
We are brought up in this way.
Come on.
We are brought up in this way, educated in
I
this
know,
way.
sir, you're brought up this way. I know I'm being brought up that way. I'm breaking my conditioning. I'm breaking down what I've been brought up.
Sometimes the conditioning, even if you are able to watch it, the conditioning, if you can listen to me, the conditioning sometimes is very strong. So you are able to watch it, you are able to be aware of it, but the conditioning is terribly strong.
Yes, I'm being aware. I'm aware that I want to possess. And in that possession, there is domination. And possession and domination does that contain love? You understand? So I discover it does not. So I will not possess. You understand? I can't possess. Because my interest, my drive, my intensity to find out this thing called love. So I have found attachment is not love. Possession is not love. Nor the instinct which has been derived from the animal till now to the human, saying the mother and the parent, I love my baby, and then neglect them for the rest of their life. Right? That's not love. So I have found out for myself these things are not love. Then I want to also inquire. I hope you are doing it together. I'm not talking to myself. If I am, stop it.
Attachment to the idea of independence, which is the other side of the coin.
What's that?
Aren't we often attached also to the idea that we should be independent, not attached?
Yes,
This
sir.
often creates problems also.
Yes, sir. That means attached to the image you have about the parents. Come on, so this is all simple enough. So is jealousy love? You understand? Oh, you say no, it's not, but I'm jealous. So my saying no, it's not has no meaning. So I have to say why? Why am I jealous? Go into it, look at it. Why am I jealous? Because I possess. Why do I possess her or him? Why do I hold on? Is it that I am lonely? You understand? Desperately, deeply lonely, separate.
I think love is a sort of intense perception of life. Like, for example, now this moment together, and the sun outside, planes, the sky, the water, the runs, and the roof, and all life is like that. Love. I think so.
So you describe what love is, right?
An intense perception of life.
What?
Like, for example, I think love is an intense perception.
Attachment to the idea of independence, which is the other side of the coin.
What's that?
Aren't we often attached also to the idea that we should be independent, not attached?
Yes,
This
sir.
often creates problems also.
Yes, sir. That means attached to the image you have about the parents. Come on, so this is all simple enough. So is jealousy love? You understand? Oh, you say no, it's not, but I'm jealous. So my saying no, it's not has no meaning. So I have to say why. Why am I jealous? Go into it, look at it. Why am I jealous? Because I possess. Why do I possess her or him? Why do I hold on? Is it that I am lonely? You understand? Desperately, deeply lonely, separate.
I think love is a sort of intense perception of life. Like, for example, now this moment together, and the sun outside, planes, the sky, the water, the runs, and the roof, and all life is like that. Love. I think so.
So you describe what love is, right?
An intense perception of life.
What?
Like, for example, I think love is an intense perception of life. Life.
Internal perception of love.
Come on.
It's an intense perception of life.
What's that?
It's an intense perception of life, she says.
But I haven't got that intense perception of life.
Like, for example, this moment.
Yes,
now,
madam, I understand that, but I haven't got it. You people just imagine this, make a statement and let it go at that. I don't know what you mean by intense perception of love. I am caught in this thing. You are giving some description what life should be. I am not going to be caught in that trap of descriptions. So, is jealousy love? And I am jealous, so I become aware of it. You understand? I go into it. I don't just say, well, what am I to do? Or tell me. I see jealousy is not love, and I am jealous. So I go into it. I work it out, think it out. Which means I am attached to her or him. So I'm not escaped from attachment. Right? I've not really resolved it. So I must go into it again, look at it carefully. And because my intention, my whole search is to find out this perfume. So I put that aside. Then I see that I have my ambitions, my beliefs, my dogmatism, me first and her second, right? And she first and me second. And I say, is that love? Which means is there, when there is separation between that and this, is that love? So don't say no, go into it, look at it. Because if you don't, you will say at the end of 20 years, I have done nothing. At the end of 10 years, you will say, you have talked enough, get away from here. Stop talking. Because you don't apply.
This is the only difficulty. We don't apply.
Apply, I'm doing it now for you.
But I have the impression to apply myself. But there is something else that I don't know.
Then
that prevent me, sir. That
Then
prevent me
find-
to deeply see all these things and not intellectually only.
Then find out what is impeding you. Go into it. Don't say, I don't know, and then give it up. Find out. What is the barrier? Is it laziness? Is it acceptance of things as they are, not to be disturbed? So go into it, sir. Test it out. Break down. Cry. Do something to find out. At the end of it, don't say, I've listened to you for 20 years or 52 years and I haven't changed. It is not my fault, it's your fault. Don't put the blame on me.
Sir?
Just a minute, sir. I know, sir, I'm answering your question, sir. So I've discovered attachment in any form is not love. Jealousy is not love. Possession is not love. Me and her, fulfilling my desires in her, or she in me. So desire, go into it carefully. Desire is not love. Right? You don't accept it, you won't see this. Desire. Sexual desires, desire for comfort, desire for various forms of encouragement, desire. Is desire love? Don't say no. Because I'm desiring that woman or that man. I desire to be a big politician or a guru, or I desire enlightenment. I desire to become better. I desire to overcome this, enter into something else. All this movement of desire, the becoming, the fulfilling, is that love?
So what shall we do with it?
I'm telling you, sir, look at it. Investigate desire. Desire. Why is the mind, which is the result of the senses, you follow? You understand this? the senses. So the response of the senses with its desires, is that love? You follow? So please follow all this. I'm investigating all this so that towards the end I begin to see that everything that thought has created or desire around this world is not love, right? And in the perception of that, intelligence is taking place, right? Right, sir? No, sir. Love is not the same as understanding. Love is something totally different. You see, I'm describing a new I can use a Greek word, agap, or French word, or a Sanskrit word, but it won't convey the thing. The description in Sanskrit, I can't tell you. It won't. Or in Italian or French, it's not there. So please, sir, do it.
Sir, you talk about love.
I don't talk about love. I am talking about the barriers, the things that prevent this thing taking place.
I'm being prevented from this thing taking place by my blockage.
You told me that, sir.
But now, what shall I do with it? I mean, I want to love.
That's what I want to love. The very desire to want to love is the denial of love.
So how shall I get rid of my desire?
I'm not saying you should get rid of anything. I'm just pointing out how to investigate desire, to look at it. All right, I'll show it to you, sir. I desire that woman or that man. I desire to become something. I desire to be very healthy. I desire a better life, more money. I desire. And what is this constant urge, right? For nirvana, for enlightenment, for a better life, for this. What is this desire? Please, I am not talking to myself. I can do this anywhere.
So, in order for the desire to accomplish, transform the passion to investigate, something has to take place.
It's a desire for something. Desire can not be transmuted into something else. It has to be understood. It has to be exposed to the light of investigation.
How to expose it?
I'm doing it, sir. I'm doing it. I went into this carefully the other day. What is the movement of desire? The response of the senses, right? The response, I see something, blue shirt, I want that blue shirt. Response of seeing, the response, contact, sensation. Then thought comes in and says, I like to have that shirt. So thought, when it takes over, the response of the senses creates desire. Watch it and test it out.
I want the
attention that you're getting, sir. I see that desire.
So I'm left with this, sir. I see love is not desire. It's a great thing to find out for oneself. And if love is not desire, then what is love? You understand? Love is not mere attachment to the baby. Love is not attachment in any form. Love is not jealousy. Love is not me and my ambition, my fulfillment, my becoming, and you also becoming. This constant division, that's not love. Nor desire, nor pleasure, right? The fulfillment of desire, which is pleasure. That's not love. So I found out what love is. It's none of these things. And have I understood these elements and be free of them? Or just I say, well, I understand intellectually, I understand verbally, but help me to go deeper. I can't. You have to do it yourself.
How to do it, sir?
I'm doing it, sir. Sit down, sir, please.
I prefer to stand.
All right, sir. Sit down there, sir.
Thank you.
So I've found in this investigation, in examining all these things quite impersonally, objectively as they are, I have got that quality of intelligence now. You understand? It's born out of this investigation, it's born out of this seeing the truth of each thing, right? And therefore out of that there is intelligence. So I'm asking, is this intelligence necessary for love? I'm using the word intelligence, not intellect, not the cunning, twisting subtleties of the intellect, the verbal play, but totally different. The seeing and the doing. The seeing attachment is dangerous, and the doing of it, which is the ending of it, that is intelligence. So there is intelligence, and therefore it is love, that quality of love, which is compassion, not compassion as an idea, a thing that's in one's heart, burning, alive. And compassion, love and intelligence go together. Without intelligence you can't have compassion. This intelligence of which I'm talking. Now, we've talked for an hour and 27 minutes. Have you tested it out? Have you freed yourself from this attachment and therefore total feeling of immense responsibility? Or will you say, just a minute, sir, or will you say day after tomorrow, I've listened to you, nothing has happened? That very statement indicates that you have not investigated yourself, gone into yourself. You expect somebody to do something to you.
Krishnaji, that may not be quite the case. It may be that I've listened to what you're saying and feel now I want to try and test it out.
Test it out. No. Do it as we are talking. Don't wait till after tomorrow.
Sir, as I reject every my
attachment or desire. I feel tremendous empty in myself, so I can't see any intelligence.
So, emptiness. What does that mean? Lonely? Separate? Isolated? A sense of being cut off, not having any kind of relationship with another. Is the result of drugs. Is the result of various forms of marijuana, grass, speed, and all the rest of it. And also is it the result of your vows, your meditation, your acceptance of authority? You follow? Made you this sense of absolutely worthless, empty, lonely. So at the end of an hour and a half nearly, have you got this quality of love and compassion? If not, let us tomorrow talk about it, investigate it, go into it much more deeply. But don't say, ever. I've listened for so long and I haven't got it. You can listen to that river endlessly, but the water is not what you listen to.